This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 499, How to Discover the Buyer with Compassionate Listening.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers, and I have a point of view on selling that may catch you off guard. Or maybe it won't. If you've been listening to this podcast, maybe this won't surprise you, but I believe that just like social work, nursing, and counseling, I see selling as a helping profession. See, this is the thing. As sellers, it's our responsibility to relieve the suffering of our customers and clients. Each prospect you meet has some unfulfilled need or desire that greatly pains both them and their organizations. The way master sellers can assuage this suffering is to listen, and to listen with compassion. Instead of guessing what's troubling them, ask, and they'll tell you what it is that they want or what it is they need. Too often, sellers are quick to jump the gun and talk about their stuff when it would make more sense to shut up and let them talk. How to discover the buyer with compassionate listening? Well, that's the topic for today. But before we do that, make sure and subscribe to the podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or you can go to salesbabble.com and subscribe to our newsletter. With that said, let's get to today's chapter. And now today's chapter, Compassionate Listening. Know the features, yet focus on benefits. What the buyer values exceeds your desire to close a deal. How do they suffer? Where do they hurt? What is the pain that never goes away? The path to help is paved with compassionate listening. When you know what matters, you know how to help. And now today's story. Chris is a nerd at heart and knows the product inside and out. When asked, Chris can speak at length about all the bells and whistles, but Pat could hear that the buyer was getting impatient on the video call. There was too much selling. Pat texted Chris, quote, "Buyers don't care about features, just want problems solved. Ask about challenges. Walk through the benefits list. Ask if they agree." Seeing the text, Chris immediately pivoted the conversation and asked about their concerns, and then uncovered issues regarding slip schedules and higher costs. When Chris shared how the product was faster and saved money, the buyers immediately perked up. They loved these benefits. Pat texted again, quote, "Great course correction. Go get 'em," end quote. Yeah. It's easy for sellers to get excited about the cool features that differentiate their product from the competition. It's easy for sellers to forget that buyers just want their problems solved and desires to come true. Professor Theodore Levitt famously said, quote, "People don't want to buy a quarter-inch drill. They want a quarter-inch hole," end quote. You're selling holes, not drill bits. The Zen author Thich Nhat Hanh said, "Deep listening is the kind of listening that can help relieve the suffering of another person. You can call it compassionate listening. You listen with only one purpose, to help him or her empty their heart. Even if they say things that are full of wrong perceptions, full of bitterness, you are still capable of continuing to listen with compassion. End quote. You see, this is the kind of listening that can be hard for sellers. It demands that you don't interrupt or argue, because if you do, you lose your chance. Instead, listen with compassion and help them to suffer less. Who knows? Maybe your product can help them. Maybe not. But without first listening, you'll never know. Now, if you'd like a copy of this chapter, read it yourself, you can find it in the show notes at www.salesbabble.com. This is episode 499. And while you're there, you can sign up for our newsletter, and it will have links to the podcast sent conveniently to your inbox. Is this idea about compassionate listening interesting to you? Do you see how it changes how you might engage with a buyer, a prospective buyer? If so, you may have a friend who also might find value in this lesson. If so, if you could share this episode with them, just one person who's looking to grow their selling skills, I'd really appreciate it. Or if you'd like to dig into this just a little bit deeper, you can reach out to me. Click the Babble Me button on the website. That'll send a message directly to me. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, which is what a lot of people do. I'd love to hear from you. With that said, that's all I've got for this week, folks. Until next Tuesday, take care and have a highly successful and a profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.